You might have noticed that issue 15 of Plascon Spaces has just hit our shelves, and it is saying hello summer, filled with inspiration for the fresh new season. Joining us now is Plascon Colour Manager Roselt. Anne, welcome back to the studio.
Hi Graham, great to be here.
It's always awesome to have you here because you have so much creative inspiration to share, and I can see that Spaces really has become this outlet for you guys to, yes, look at creative ways of using colour, but also the effect that it can have on our lifestyle. And we're talking about whites now. I would imagine with the paler shades that you have to abide by some rules. What are the watchwords when dealing with white? How can we bring it into our homes?
Well, white's a great colour, and as you said, it's perfect for summer, but it can sometimes look a little bit boring, or it can look sterile. So the thing with white is to make sure that you use different intensities and textures of white. Just one big tip is you get cool whites like ice whites going right through to warm ivory whites. So it's kind of using those together. Brilliant whites really stand out. They have a glare and they stand out. So think of brilliant white almost like you would use an accent colour, because it will stand out. You can see that here. The brightest whites actually really stand out. So use it for accessories, a picture, or maybe a couch. And keep warm whites for your carpets, your walls, and maybe your fabrics. And that way you create white layers of whites and textures of whites, and it makes whites much more interesting and not boring.
And just looking at the magazine, the dimensions that it creates, that depth of field is amazing as well. Now, you know, we know that green, we love our green here in studio, not just during Christmas time, obviously, but for us it is a really tranquil colour, and it's something that really does adjust the mood, the energy in a room. What sort of effect emotionally does green have on a person, on a household, on the energy of a living space?
Okay, well, what green really does is it brings us into connection with nature, and that's why it's so good for us to include in our decor. And it's also a very balancing colour. Even if you have a decor scheme that's not really working very well, if you bring in some green plants or something, it will actually balance it out. So green's a very balancing colour. It's very de-stressing, we know that, because if you walk into a garden or a park, it's so stress relieving. It helps our emotions both physically and it helps us mentally. And green is also a colour of new beginnings. So green's a wonderful colour to introduce into your home space.
Especially at this time of the year, you want to go into the new year with a fresh, new, vibrant living space. I love that. Now, something that's come back, and I might be a bit remiss here, but it seems like a bit of a throwback. The use of different textures, things like stencils and stripes, really livening up a living space.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing paint effects in general coming back, from colour washes to stenciling and stripes. We have some DIYs in the magazine which you can try. And, you know, the most important thing to remember with paint effects, especially stenciling and painting stripes, is not to overload your paintbrush. Because the minute you put too much paint on your brush or your roller, it seeps beneath the masking tape or the stencil, and that's when it doesn't look very professional. So as little paint as possible. And you can always go over it again, but just to prevent those fluffy edges.
And I suppose that's the thing, when working in finer details, you've really got to get it right. And you'll get lots of awesome tips on how to achieve those results in the magazine. Now, we want to bring summer into our homes, but we're looking long-term as well. So we want something that is seasonal, that doesn't shake up the mode of the house too much. What are your tips for summer to bring in some of that summer light, to bring in the fresh feeling of the season?
Well, in addition to white, as we've mentioned, and also green, you can bring in lots of colour. I mean, you might love red or you might like yellow. We've got lots of hints and tips on how to introduce those colours in the magazine. And it's really, your home needs to reflect your personality. So whatever you're feeling, think about it and bring those colours into your home and really, you know, enjoy the summer colours.
Lastly, I have to ask very quickly, what can we expect? I know we've got this inspiration for summer in the magazine, but what else can we get out of our issue 15?
Well, in this issue, we're giving away a free calendar. It's a fabulous calendar for 2015, so you can have inspiration every month of the year.
I love it. We've recreated some of those looks during our journey over the last year. So thank you so much, and thank you for an inspirational journey this year. It really has been amazing to see what we can do with our living spaces, not just from a creative perspective, but in addressing ourselves as human beings living in those spaces. And thank you so much for all of your help.
It's such a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's there on the shelves. Issue 15 of Plascon Spaces is out there with a brand new calendar to help you with even more inspiration as we soak up that beautiful summer light.
Plascon Double Velvet, the washable and stain-resistant paint. Now with a 15-year quality guarantee. Plascon, paint with imagination.